In this video, we are going to create a Power Automate Cloud Flow that will create a private group in Microsoft. So what we're going to do is create an instant Cloud Flow. We're going to create our private group with a manual trigger. So let's get started. So in Power Automate, we'll want to click New Flow and then build an instant Cloud Flow. Select Manually Trigger a Flow and click Create. After the trigger, we'll want to select a new action. Now, there is no native action in Power Automate that will create a private group in Microsoft. So what we need to do is use an action that will call to Microsoft Graph to create that private group. And the action that we're going to use is invoke an HTTP request. And there are two different options. There's HTTP with Microsoft Entra ID, and then there's the same one but with pre-authorized in parentheses, and that's the one we're going to use. So we're going to select that one. Now, if this is the first time you've ever used this action, it's going to ask you for some setup details, and I'm going to give you that information here. So you're going to be asked for two URLs, and the URL that you want is going to be, and I'll put it in the note here, it's going to be this graph.microsoft.com. You're going to put that in the fields at both URL fields, and then you can name your connector whatever you want it to be. I would just choose something basic like Microsoft Graph API. And then once you've done that and you've successfully signed in, then you'll want to select your method, which in our case is going to be a post method, and then the URI of the request. I'll paste it in here, and you can find it in the description of the video down below. And then we need one more thing. We need body of the request. So I will paste in that body template, and then you'll notice that you'll need to update a few things. So you'll need to update the description. So for that, I just use the same description and display name. So this will just be called, I'm just going to name it my name. And the display name. And then you can give it a nickname, male nickname. And I've added some additional things here. So down below here, some male enabled so that this group will be able to use Outlook, and we're giving it the nickname. So I'm going to, again, call it the nickname Jeremy_private group. And then security enabled is false and visibility is set to private. So that's where you're indicating that this is a private group. So now that we have this body finished, let's go ahead and save and test. Let's go to our groups. You'll need to go to your apps. We'll go more apps. And then off to the side, you've got admin here. And we go to our admin, and then over on the side, we have teams and groups. So we can click that and then go to active teams and groups. And now we can see the group that was just created, and it was created on, here's the timestamp, and it's set to private. And then it was given this email. So the email domain is Jeremy. Let me close that. It's Jeremy_private group, just like we selected. And it's all set up. Now we can do one more thing because you might want to be able to use that new private group in subsequent actions, right? So we will probably need the private group ID so that we can pass it to subsequent actions and do further automation with. So let's go back to Power Automate. And what we'll do is we'll grab, while we're still in the successful run here, let's grab the outputs here. I'm going to copy all of this and go back into my flow. So I'll click edit, and then I'm going to add in a parse JSON action. And then under content, I'm going to select the body of the invoke request, and then I'm going to click use sample payload. And I'm going to paste my outputs in here, click done, and then it will generate a schema to use. And then the last step is to simply do a compose, which I've saved here. And then you click here and we compose our ID. So that's going to be body ID. And then what we'll do up here is rename this to private group ID. I'm going to go back here and run one more test. This is going to be called private group 2, just for a test. I'm going to save. And run one more test. And we take a look at the successful run, and I'll click on the compose action here. And it looks like we got no response here. So I'm going to edit this. And I think what we'll do in this case, because we're not getting that, it might be happening too fast. So it takes Microsoft some time to set up that new group, and the flow is happening faster than that. So I'm going to put right here after the invoke request a delay. So let's choose seconds and 30 seconds and change our delay action to delay dash 30 seconds and save. Test. Okay, so we are still getting no outputs for our compose private group ID action. And I realize that the reason is because that dynamic content for ID is not is the issue. It's not that there is any issue that's requiring more than probably a few seconds delay. So the delay is still good to have, but the dynamic content is not yielding that group ID. So if we go to edit, we go to our action and we hover over it, we can see what it looks like. And it actually should not look like this. It should actually look like this without the second body in the brackets. So we're going to need to change that. And because we can't pull it from dynamic content, we are going to have to write an expression here. So let's get rid of this. And then we'll open our expression editor. And our expression is going to be this. I'll put this in the description down below, video description. Click add. Test. Another manual test, run flow. Okay, so our flow runs successful. And now you can see that private group ID is there. So for whatever reason, you need to slightly alter that as an expression. You can't use the direct dynamic content of your parse JSON. If we go to edit and we look at that input now, we can see that it is dynamic content. It's just not there unless we create it as write it as an expression, get it to appear there, and then Power Automate converts it to what appears to be dynamic content and not actually an expression like we had written. So now I'm going to change this to 10 seconds. Now that we got that to work, 10 seconds should be all it takes, but you're going to have to do that testing yourself because it might take longer for in your environment. But for me, after testing it, it only takes no more than 10 seconds to create that. But if you want to give it more time, definitely by all means, but usually just 1 or 2 seconds is all it takes for that request to create the private group. So that's going to do it for this video. And I want to thank all of you for watching. And as always, I will see you in the next video. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.